Can't be in? Yep. 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to the Turnbuckle Arms Halloween special.
Cats fighting everywhere.
Trust Grizz. I'm joined by my fellow brew members. We have the one and only Lexi Delnell. We have Count Big Chocolatey. Captain Jason Woods. We have the Ginger Dead Grizz. And today you have got me, who is hosting, and I am today the Jolly Scare Bear. So, how is everyone? How's everyone doing? All right.
Good, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to Halloween.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Some
Okay.
days a lot more than others.
Right, so what I'm going to do is run down what we're going to talk about and let the listeners know what we're going to do, and then we'll get straight into it. So in this episode, we'll be talking about all things Halloween, which includes the revival of Halloween Havoc, thanks to NXT brand. We're going to look at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view and some of its most iconic matches, and finally, to finish off, we're going to look at do a Summit Daft, which is look at some of the spookiest or daftest Halloween wrestling characters that have ever been created.
That should have been the main topic.
Yeah.
So,
Before we start, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring up a couple of things that has happened over the last couple of days, and that is through AEW. So, if you don't know, there's been a couple of injuries that have happened on Dynamite this past week, which has resulted in a change to the current Eliminator tournament. So, Phoenix has vacated his position and given it to his brother. This is because whether it's his own view or whether it's AEW, but due to a awkward landing on which he's received on the back of his head, they've basically said, and it's been made official, that we don't want to go through to the next round. However, I do hope and feel that he will get his choice. He'll get his chance again later on down the line. I hope so, because obviously it's something that AEW have done for quite a while, where they allow other people to step in and then let the other person take over again. So that's the first one, which is a shame. And then the next one is, did anyone see the horrific injury to Alex Reynolds on that night during the four-way tag match?
That was grim.
So, Alec, if you're not unaware, Alex Reynolds is a member of the Dark Order. And he took a splash and leg drop at the same time by Private Party, and basically knocked him senseless.
Looked like he landed on his head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quick thinking. Unfortunately, the match carried on, but quick thinking. Blade went in, dragged him to the corner, and tagged him in, which was good.
But the amount of effort that he needed to go through to do that was it showed how serious that this injury actually was.
The problem we've got is that they carried on with the match, and as like anything, because of people having their ability to have their words aired on social media, a lot of people said that it should have actually been stopped. And I get that, understand that.
I mean, that's the debatable thing. Like, obviously, in that one-on-one match with Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara, when he got injured, that's a different case because it's one-on-one. Like, Reynolds, all they needed to do was kind of get the guy out of the ring, and they could have still kept the match going. But the part that kind of annoyed me about the whole thing was the fact that he was lying there unconscious for about another 3 minutes while the match was going on, literally sometimes on top of him. And it's just get the dude out the ring. There's 7 other guys in this match. You can keep going. Just make sure that the guy that's knocked senseless is out of there. And then the fact that he got back up and then continued to do spots. And then even the fact that when he was trying to do those spots, you could see he just wasn't all there.
Yeah. So hopefully he makes a speedy recovery, saying that he's okay, but we'll see. Just before we go on to the next topic, I just want to say that obviously Bound for Glory is going on tonight while we're recording. it promises to be a fantastic pay-per-view like they've been doing. They've been knocking it out of the park of Impact recently. All titles online, some fantastic names. So if you do enjoy that, obviously, as we're recording this, if you were going to watch it, brilliant. If you are listening to it after you've watched it, then I hope you did enjoy it. So finally, we're just going to jump on to one last little bit, which my fellow Brew'd member Chris is going to take over with, and that is the divisive audience view on this recent Dynamite's Jericho and MGF segment. So take it over to you, Chris.
Divisive is right. This is the Marmite of this year by far. For me, and I know for my fellow Brew'd members, it was amazing. It was funny. It was different. It was unexpected. And this is what we all need. However, of course, you've got people that want to tell you that wrestling is always going to be about fighting and nothing more. I think people have misunderstood, though, that MJF and Jericho aren't even feuding yet. If anything, it's a flirtation around each other as they try and tempt each other into.
Good way of putting that. I like that.
Yeah,
Actually,
so the dinner makes sense, doesn't it? You know, it's a debate between them. You know, I didn't see that singing coming, but I don't think anyone saw MJF's pipes coming either. They were fantastic. What a singer. He's a young Dean Martin. He's going to give, you know, Jericho a run for his money. And, like, it's so funny that, like, even one thing that Jericho can do, which is sing very well, MJF even has to seem, you know, he's got that pegged as well. So it all makes sense. It was fantastic. I urge everyone to watch it. However...
but Jericho's a rock star singer, though.
Yeah, well, yeah. So Jim Cornette is still calming down. I haven't heard a lot from him yet, you know, in terms of response. I'm sure it'll be volcanic when it comes out. But yeah, for me, I loved it. I urge anyone to go see it. It was, a lot of people have called it like Stewie and Brian Griffin style, you know, which is dead on. It was perfect. The song is Me and My Shadow. It's a well-known swing, you know, favorite made popular by the Rat Pack. And for me, it was absolutely, yeah, just wonderful. Watch it. Give us your opinion on social media, you know, and don't let us sway you. Obviously, you know, it is your opinion. But you're wrong if you think it's not very good, because it was.
Wait, did you just say don't let it swing you?
Oh,
Oh,
always on.
so
Always on.
I'm here for the booze.
But yeah, that was it really. So, you know.
Going back to that, though, I mean, we had our cinematic universe debate not too long ago. And I mean, where does this, I mean, it's a step away from doing wrestling, and I don't think it hurts. Well, my opinion is I don't think it hurts anything. It didn't, but it's that debate whether it's dispending your belief or whatever. It's removing you from this is meant to be taken legitimately and those type of things. But I mean, the one that Austin and Angle, I mean, they did that funny skit where they did singing and dancing. Everyone always talks about that as a great one, and I can't see them not doing the same about this because it was so well done.
Yeah.
They like for comedy, those guys, don't they? Like, they both have their comedy chops. A good heel has to be cowardly, dastardly, you know, but sometimes you want to kind of take the mick as well out of them, don't you? And that was the opportunity you got there. Jericho knows how to play it funny. You know, not so long ago, he was bathing in a vat of mimosa. Like, we know this is his thing now. You know, he can do both. And it only helped MJF, I think, along. So, yeah, I got no problem with that, you know, and it is genuinely something different and unexpected. And just look at the views it's getting, and whether you like it or not, and a lot of people didn't, you know, it's getting that attention. It's getting the eyes on the product. So
about a quarter of them are just me as well.
Yeah.
Just playing it on loop over and over and over.
It's great. And all the little subtle references in the lyrics. Like, I didn't even pick up on half of them the first time I heard it. But, you know, it's not just a straight cover. It's AEW specific with its lyrics, you know, and it was well rehearsed. And I know, you know, we were discussing just before the show started about how they'd rehearsed this, you know, and knocked it out all in one night. And it was just incredible, you know. And so, yeah, for me, top marks, really. I loved it. But yeah, go watch it. Yourself.
Brilliant. So let's get into it then.
Well, Michael, can I just jump in one last AEW thing quickly? It's another injury, sadly, but it also kind of ties in this episode, you know, for the sadder reasons, obviously. Abaddon, because I've already taped this week's episode of Dynamite, got injured apparently quite badly in her match with Tay Conti.
Right.
I want to bring her up now, you know, for at least a shout out to be like, get well soon. And because, you know, one of the absolute greatest horror characters that's came out of wrestling within the past couple of years because Jesus Christ, she is terrifying. Like genuinely terrifying. The first time I seen her, I was like, "What the hell is that?" And I was trying to turn the telly off.
Yeah. So as we said, hope everyone who we've talked about gets well soon. Right, let's get into it. So at the last NXT takeover, it was announced that we would see the revival of a WCW iconic pay-per-view, which was Halloween Havoc, as a special one-night-only NXT show, which will take place next Wednesday, hosted by Shotzi Blackheart. What's everyone's thoughts about this? We'll start with you, Lexi.
I'm so happy. I don't know whether my experience of like WCW is the same as everyone else's, but I found it, because I was so young, I didn't see the pay-per-views. But for me, when I saw the recaps of Halloween Havoc on the following Nitro, I was always like, this looks so cool. This looks really good. And in the weeks leading up to recording, I've actually gone back and I've watched 3 Halloween Havocs, 96, 97, 98. And they're just, if you take away the first, take away the last couple of matches on each pay-per-view, they're actually really good pay-per-views. I just love the fact that it's got a completely different aesthetic, and I'm hoping that they do what they did with the In Your House pay-per-view, and they brought back the old set for it. I want to see the big sort of demon and the pumpkin and stuff like that. My only reservation of it is, does it need Shotzi Blackheart to host it?
That's what I was thinking. No.
I mean,
why?
You know,
Because look at her,
she's got green hair.
365 days a year.
don't get me wrong, but there are others. There are others in the NXT alumni that could come back and do it.
Name 10.
Alistair Black,
Set the bar really high.
Selena Vega. So there's 2 straight away.
Okay,
That
right.
you could do it.
8 more to go.
You don't have to do this, don't worry. You don't have to listen.
Don't pressure.
So what about you, Chris? What are your thoughts about them bringing it back?
Yeah, and like Lexi said, like I think if they commit to it fully, which they look they're going to do, like In Your House, then it's completely worth it. I know WWE, has always done kind of seasonal episodes and Halloween episodes, but it might just be Seth Rollins getting a pumpkin dumped on his head or something stupid like that. So it's nice to see him fully commit to it. Really, I don't watch a lot of the product at the moment, but it reminds me of like Raw Roulette when they used to do that as well. The spin the wheel, make the deal. I like that part. The matches themselves look of reasonable quality. And let's not forget, no one's paying for this. This is free essentially. It's not a pay-per-view, right? So good for them. Good for them for putting that amount of commitment to it. So I'm all for it. Halloween Havoc, as Lexi said, the aesthetic of it was very good back in the day. You make an excellent point about how 3/4 of the events are good, but they tend to fall off terribly at the end, and that's what most people remember. We'll get to obviously Halloween Havoc later on, but I think it's good, and very much like In Your House, I think it's great to have these within reason, and to be limited. But I'm all for it. It's Halloween, you know what I mean? Everyone else is doing it, right? Why not? So I'm all up for that.
What about you, Jason? What are your thoughts of Halloween Havoc?
I really like the event, and I've got fond memories of the pay-per-view. The Chelsea Blackheart was the bit that seems odd to me. I mean, it's am I saying a name right? That was correct, wasn't it?
Chelsea.
Anyway, she because she came out to announce one of the matches. William Regal asked her to do so, and she put this really weird voice on as well, and it was like the intro voices you have to WWE events, and it was like, it's going to happen. I was like, what are you doing?
Spin the wheel.
Oh yeah, I was like, spin the wheel sounds fun. I mean, they've done that in the past. I like the idea of some kind of weird kind of stipulations on some of the matches, but I don't understand why they've gone with her hosting, but the rest of it, I think that's great fun to bring that back. So.
What about you then, Grizz? You finish it off.
Good. I just want to also note that I do have green on my cup.
So what are your thoughts of Halloween Havoc?
Well, considering the fact that I was late into wrestling, as we all know, I started in 2002, so after WCW passed away, So I never like I've seen 2 matches from Halloween Havoc's illustrious history, and probably no points in guessing what 2 of those are. So when we talk about that later, that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
And so like this is going to be hella fun. Obviously, like big horror fan. Yeah, sure, horror fan, and that also ties into Halloween because I've been watching horror movies constantly over the past month. And so just Halloween Havoc is just, I'm so excited for it. I'm so glad they brought it back. And then the fact that they brought back Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal for like 2 of the most important matches. And then even on NXT this week, the way that the Garganos are going about with the prop wheel that they made and everything, like they're really excelling with this thing. And so I just can't wait to see what we get next Wednesday.
Yeah,
And also,
I mean, like,
Shotzi Blackheart does deserve it. You're all wrong.
I mean, like for me, I grew up watching WCW as well as then WWF in the early years. I've not seen all of them, all the Halloween Havocs, but again, I've seen quite a few. And do you know what? It's something that people have been asking for quite a while. It's a shame that they haven't made it a proper WWE show. But you know, as you said, just the whole feeling of it, just having it brought back as nostalgia. I'm as long as it's done right, I'm happy with it. As long as that big pumpkin's there, then I'm fine with that. So let's jump on to the next bit, which is my next question, which you've all answered. We've all seen a bit of Halloween Havoc. Doesn't matter if it's any of them or all of them. And I just wanted to ask, do you have any fond memories or really, really bad matches that you want to talk about? And we'll start with you again, Lexi.
Oh,
What
right.
stands out for you?
Let's have a look. One of the things that I will point out just while I get my notes up is I didn't notice until I watched Halloween Havoc a couple of weeks ago, but on one of the tombstones for the classic one, there is actually the name Crockett.
Wow.
And I didn't notice that until, and then I think it changes every year. So I'm hoping that they'll go and do that this year.
What, with the name Can on it?
Yeah, something like that, or something, you know, AEW or something stupid like that.
Yeah, that might do.
Take shots or whatever. For me, one of my favourite matches is actually from the opening of Halloween Havoc 1996. It's for the Cruiserweight Championship, and it's Dean Malenko versus Rey Mysterio Jr., as he was at the time. And it was brilliant. Like, it was what it needed to start the show, to start the pay-per-view. And then the year afterwards, you've got Rey Mysterio again versus Eddie Guerrero in a title versus mask match, and that was just fantastic.
Well, that's been voted of, if not one of the best matches ever in WCW history. So yeah, completely agree with you on that.
I also think as well, if I remember rightly, it's one of Eddie Guerrero's favourite matches that he wrestled.
Yeah.
But 1997 Halloween Havoc has an absolute hidden gem that's often forgot about, and that is Kurt Hennig versus Ric Flair. And seriously, honestly, it's amazing.
Juicy.
Very much.
It's very, very much lost due to other things that happened in and around Halloween Havoc. But it is incredible. And yes, it has a typical WCW ending. I don't know who was booking. I'll go there and say the late great Dusty Rhodes, probably, maybe not. But yeah, it's brilliant. And for me, those are the top three.
So what's your worst one, if you've got one?
Oh, I would say, and it's not because of the match quality, it's because of how it finished. And I think everyone knows what I'm going to say. It's
Depends,
DDP.
'cause there's a list.
DDP versus Goldberg.
What?
This
Whoa.
Oh yeah.
Oh, what? Whoa.
Is that
so,
the one that got cut off?
Yeah.
Yes.
So basically, as a child, I didn't understand what happened, and I didn't understand why we were seeing the match from a pay-per-view, and I thought that we were being really special in the UK. I didn't realise that it was an actual genuine thing that happened. But for me, I would have been so pissed off if that happened. Like, I can tell you now, I've sat in pubs and they've lost the streams, and I've been like, what is this about? Proper kicking off. So if I was physically paying like however much it was back in the day, I'd been vexed. And for me, that when you say Halloween Havoc, that's one of the first things I think about. And actually, you shouldn't, because there's some fantastic matches on the cards. So yeah, there you go.
Okay, we'll jump to you, Chris. What about yourself? What's do you have a hidden gem or one of your favourite matches from the 12 years that Halloween Havoc had been running WCW?
I wouldn't say I had a hidden gem. Now I'm going to have to watch that Hennig and Flair match, because I didn't even know they'd gone at it. What I was going to say was one, I think, most people's favorites is Eddie versus Ray. It is incredible. Obviously one of the highlights of WCW was the cruiserweights they had, Hoover T, Guerrero, etc., Psychosis, and they really were fantastic matches, and Dean Malenko was a big part of that as well. But yeah, that match in particular had it all. It was a great finish. It kind of comes off the turnbuckle, what looks like I think a Hurricane Rana that almost looks like it's actually going to get reversed by Guerrero before Ray kind of just holds him down with his weight. And it's something about that finish looks quite realistic, actually, because it's all about momentum and physics. And, it sounds stupid, but yeah, it's a very kind of simple finish when it comes to it, but it was really well done. And looked like it could have literally tipped either way in just half a second, which is why it was so great. So great finish. DDP Goldberg, was a good match until the end. That's true. In terms of worst matches, for me, and then I shared the kind of countdown today on social media, WWE's kind of top moments. And
yeah, I've seen.
It wasn't saying a lot. So let's talk about this. So it seems to be that Hogan and the Big Show, or the Giant, Paul White as he was known then, involved in a lot of terrible moments in Halloween Havoc history. The Monster was one thing. I'm not. It's just insanity, go check that out. I don't even really describe that in any detail, but yeah, the finish, comes, and spoiler alert, if you are going to watch it, the finish comes with several kind of run-ins and heel turns. Jimmy Hart turns on Hogan, and then, they call him a Yeti, but it's clearly a mummy that comes into the ring and like awkwardly bear hugs Hogan, like with Big Show together, and it's just kind of shimming his arms up and down here. It's genuinely awful. It's clearly a mummy. It gets called the Yeti. Not even the Yeti, it gets called the Yeti by Tony Schiavone. I don't know why he's the Yeti. Some people debate it's because Universal Films had the rights to the mummy, so they couldn't call him the mummy. But there's a whole backstory behind that as well. That's clearly the worst match because of the crazy finish. So good luck topping that.
Right, we'll jump to you, Jason. Have you checked out any of them out yet?
I was just actually trying to remember. I don't know if it happens on this one, which is where I was just double checking because I was. Let me just double check.
To jump to Grizz first for you.
Yeah, mine. Sorry. Yeah.
Grizz, go on then. Give me your favourite and your worst.
I was going to say, I don't think Chris really done that justice because
is it going to be a bit quiet, or is that me?
Yeah, you've gone a bit quiet, Grizz.
Yeah, go on.
Okay, do you want to maybe go back to Jason then, and I'll try and sort this out?
While we're filling the time then.
Well, I'll tell you what, while you two are looking, I'll go through some bits. So there's some, obviously if I step on anyone's toes, I do apologise. So I've got a rundown of best ones that people should check out. So obviously Halloween Havoc ran from 89 to 2000. We have, depending on how you want to look at it, you've got the Goldberg versus DDP World Heavyweight Championship from 98. You've got the very, very dangerous Texas Death Match between Vader and Cactus Jack from 93. You had a brilliant Austin versus Dustin World TV title match from 91. the Steiners versus the Nasty Boys was really, really good. And to be honest, it showed the Nasty Boys actually work really, really well. I know a lot of people just thought they were just, especially when we were in WWF at the time, just awful, but they actually were very, very good. Brian Pillman versus Lex Luger in '89. Luger were playing as a heel, and Brian Pillman was the face, and that is beautifully choreographed. Yeah, I can't even speak now. Beautifully done, should I say? And then obviously we finished with the Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Eddie Guerrero for the Cruiserweight title from '97. Worst matches that I've seen, Chamber of Horror matches from '91, where it was the cages where you had to put your opponent in the electric chair.
That match was excellent.
That was just awful, and it happened once, and you never saw it again. Hogan versus Sting, with the Hogan just laying down and getting to just pin him. You had Warrior and Hogan with the infamous flame from the hand, which didn't work.
Yeah.
Fireball, which made Warrior retire from wrestling or WCW 2 weeks later. It was that bad. So that's mine. Are you?
I'm ready now.
We'll go back to you, Jason. Then.
Well, I would have said actually it was interesting that Lexi had said that the Goldberg DDP match, because honestly, that's the one that comes to mind as my favourite Halloween Havoc match. I was big into Goldberg, and so it was always watching Eve Austin on one channel and quickly flicking to see Goldberg win his 5-minute match and going back, and so that was great. And I listen to DDP on DDP Yoga and all this other stuff, and he always seems like a real nice bloke. And then when you hear him talk about how that match took place, because I would have said, I don't know. I mean, Goldberg had a good match with Raven before that point, but I don't think I could pick out another Goldberg match other than where he's just mullered people, and there was nothing that stood out. Where he said I had a conversation with Goldberg, and I said, well, it'd be good if I dodged, and Goldberg, because he took himself way too seriously and didn't really understand a lot of this, went, Goldberg doesn't miss a spear. And he goes, no. If you did that, what would it be like? And he supposedly convinced him that he would jump out the way. And that's what made the match, well, I thought it was great. I mean, the idea that you actually thought Goldberg could lose was really quite impressive match. And then on the same card, it's Hogan against the Warrior. And that was terrible. I mean, because I was a big fan of Hogan against Warrior at WrestleMania 6. And that was so well laid out, which I guess you could look at it back and go, well, it's just strongman spots and that type of thing. But I thought it worked really well, where you watch these two again, and it's like they've never wrestled full stop. I mean, it's clumsy. They fall over it. I mean, Warrior probably hadn't wrestled much at all for a long time, but I don't think he could have taken the fall, because Hogan definitely doesn't perform well either in the match as well. So that's the one I always remember. And then the weird kind of ignition thing that didn't work, and those. So they were the two. So it's the same show for me that always stood out. But I remember that just being terrible. I was checking actually was RoboCop on a Halloween Havoc, and it was a different show. Yeah. That's what I was just checking. I went, that is the worst thing ever. But that is a different show. That was what I was double checking.
Well, just jumping in and going on with what you were talking about with Hogan and Warrior, WCW went through a period of time where people wanted dream matches, or the match that never happened in WWF. So they brought it over to WCW. So you got the likes of Hogan and Flair, you got Randy Savage and Hogan having their second match. You had the Warrior and Hogan, and it was almost as if but they did it so late on time that it almost missed its mark, and people were like, I'm not bothered anymore.
Yeah, but then there was
thingy. They also did Hogan versus Piper in a steel cage. I think it was Halloween Havoc '96 possibly. And for me, that's one of the best build-ups I've ever seen WCW do.
Is that the one where a fan climbs into the cage?
I can't remember,
I would be surprised.
That was the one where the outsiders were in the ring, and a fan climbs in, and then they start booting,
It was a
living
real
daylights
fact,
out of
wasn't it? And they
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
they look like they're
They
going to
probably
keep at
win.
some point. Yeah.
Yeah.
WCW were quite notorious for their fans jumping in the ring
Yeah,
and
they
then
were,
the
to be
wrestlers beating
fair.
the shit out of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So have you got?
Well, I was just gonna tag in and say, but also Bischoff said later he was adamant that Hogan only brought in Warrior just so he could get his win back.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah,
Of course he
think it's
wouldn't
true.
Of course he
surprise
did.
me.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with longevity. I mean, Warrior supposedly believes. I'd heard an interview him saying that they had a real, like a 3-year plan for him, and I mean, he didn't wrestle very well, and I mean, but supposedly he just said that was all he ever wanted, and they had no thought anymore as to, well, I've got my win back, so there we go.
Yeah. Also, as well,
Sorry, I just added it to you then. Sorry.
it's all right. I just wanted to clarify, though, I don't dislike... Oh, hello. Where have we gone?
Hey.
We can hear you.
Oh,
We're
that's
still
right.
here in, see you. It's fine.
I just want to clarify as well, Jason, I don't dislike the Goldberg DDP
Oh,
match.
sorry.
Just,
I don't like it. It's not that I don't like it, it's the way it went down.
Yeah.
Will always get it. It will always have that tarnish on me. So, you know, it's one of them. It's a great match, but so I just want to put that out there.
So was that your worst match, Jason, or do you have another one in mind?
No, that definitely was, because I actually was looking forward to it. That's the other part of it, because I had that fun memories of it when I was like, are you kidding me? They're doing it again. This is going to be subpar.
Are we all right now, Grizz? Can we hear you?
Hopefully.
Yep, that's good. All right,
Nice
then
one.
take it over to you.
I think I literally have problems with my microphone. This has been doing this a lot recently, so
Gremlins.
As long as you're all right.
yeah. But
Do you have
anyway,
I've stand up.
I fixed something up. So so as it says, it turns out I've seen 3 Halloween Havoc matches, because as you brought up the awesome Chamber of Blood, or whatever the hell it was called, match.
Yeah.
Where they decided, at one point to show the lever as it was pulled down on the on position as everybody fought to try and get into the electric chair. So, perfect
And Paul Abdul, the
WCW.
butcher, got it instead.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially the ending where Cactus Jack flipped the switch, and he was on Abdullah's team, but he flipped the switch right as the switch was made, and so essentially electrocuted his own partner. Fantastic. You gotta love it. Obviously, the other 2 matches, as I say, not really a surprise, are the Eddie Guerrero Rey Mysterio match, and I mean, there's a good match and a great match that I've seen. So the good match was obviously Eddie and Rey, and the great match was Hogan versus Warrior, because that was fantastic. Just it's everything I want from wrestling. I mean, it's right up there with Goldberg and the Undertaker.
Oh, let's be talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so hopefully it lives up to the hype, and we can't wait to watch it. We're going to jump on to the next topic now, which is Hell in a Cell. Obviously, the pay-per-view happens this weekend, as we are recording. And I wanted to get your thoughts and predictions on the show. But first, I've got a question for you. As of right now, how many Hell in a Cell matches have there been?
Ooh.
Not pay-per-views.
42.
Okay, any advance on 42 to be close?
The meaning of life there.
Hang on a minute, Grizz, lad. Did you count the one that you forgot in our lost episode?
Well, just to let you know, I'm including every single Hell in a Cell, whether it be on Raw, SmackDown, at a pay-per-view, or part of a pay-per-view. I just wanted to know if you knew.
And recent pay-per-views have had a lot of Hell in a Cells.
Right. Well, I'll tell you.
Go on.
45.
Oof.
That's including all the pay-per-view. That's including the 3 matches that are taking place in the Cell this weekend. 45 in total.
So I'm
That's
telling
right.
42 then. Oh,
And-
we've got it.
That's from the very beginning. That is from the very beginning when we first saw the first one at Bad Blood, October '97,
Yeah.
between Michaels and Taker, where we saw the arrival of Kane.
That's gotta be Kane.
That's gotta be Kane.
Lexi, what were you referring to there? Because
Like,
In our last episode, we were talking about we got onto Hell in a Cell topics, and I was talking about we were talking about the Undertaker, and I was talking about the Hell in a Cell between the Undertaker and Batista, where Batista kicks out of a tombstone, and you were like, "Nah, I don't remember that. Don't remember that. Don't remember that." And I was like,
yeah, I remember. I sat for about 5 straight minutes. Jesus Christ, Cat Parade. I think Cat Parade. I think I sat for about 5 minutes, like looking that up, while everyone else was just talking amongst themselves. Like, no, hold on a second, I didn't bring up.
Yeah, I'm gonna know. I'm gonna know.
But also, the one question that I have is, does this include the unaired dark match that happened before a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view one year, where it was like 6 people? I think it was like John Cena, Alberto Del Rio, Jack Swagger, and it does include that. Michael's nodding.
Nice.
Yeah, so like, because I remember like a couple of years ago there was this article on WWE.com, and it's like, oh, you thought you seen every Hell in a Cell match, but you're wrong. And it's like, okay, because you put on a Hell in a Cell match as a dark match on a show doesn't mean anything. Like that's just cheating, really.
So the reason I wanted to ask a question. So we've got, obviously you got the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, and I just wanted to ask you guys, should we continue to have it as a pay-per-view, or should it be something that it used to be, as in a feud ender or part of the 3 stages of, like Hell type of thing? It ends. Should it actually be a pay-per-view anymore?
No. You'd never have been a pay-per-view to begin with.
No.
Yeah. We all in agreement on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, for me, I need to know why they've changed the cage colour.
To red?
It's because they can sell toys.
That's ridiculous. Like,
it's just to sell toys.
Matthew on Botchamania said it's because the cage was low health, which really made me laugh. It was pretty good.
I like it. Hi, Matthew from Botchamania.
Hi.
It does look like strawberry laces now, doesn't it?
So,
go in there.
Yeah. So I'm glad that we're all on top of, on the same boat as that, because I do agree. I think it's something that it should be a feud ender, or it should just be brought out on special occasions. It shouldn't be a monthly pay-per-view thing.
I might argue though, this month, every match that's in the Hell in a Cell feels like it should be in the Hell in a Cell.
Yeah. Which is for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, they've done that before, but I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely building to this. That's definitely building to it. And so this is one of the few times where I've thought, oh, this is definitely worth appropriately.
And hopefully this will be the end of Orton and Drew. We'll go move on to someone else for Roman Reigns, and this is the build-up that we've been wanting for Sasha. However, some people are still saying, should it be now or should it be later? But obviously, during the current climate that we're in, and the whole world's gone to pants, they're trying to get people to keep eyes on the product. I understand that, and they've not got the amount of talent in the shows themselves. They're a bit stripped back, so they need to fill it out as best as they can, so they can have people keep interested. So I get that bit. So I wanted to ask a question to all of you. What's your favourite Hell in a Cell match? And again, we'll start with you, Lexi. Do you have a favourite or any favourites?
There's only one.
And is it the one we talked about off air, or the unaired one?
No.
I was there that night, and that was my favourite Hell in a Cell.
I was there. I actually no, I didn't.
All of 5 minutes.
1998, King of the Ring, Mick Foley versus The Undertaker.
Yeah.
That's one of the basis for my reasoning of it not being a pay-per-view. It was literally a last resort for those two characters at the time. They couldn't finish their feud in a normal match, so having them in this cage with a roof was, the only way that people could see it. And then people talk about suspending their disbelief. That night is a masterclass in how to do it, because it was a case of Mick Foley really did get hurt. He really did you know, take those nasty bumps, take those nasty falls. He really was messed up. You can see the sort of panic in Vince McMahon's face. You get, you know, you get Terry Funk getting choke slammed out of his trainers and everything. So yeah, for me, it's never going to win any 5 stars from Meltzer, but for me, that set the bar, and
It's
I don't
iconic.
think. Yeah,
Wasn't that whole part of Terry Funk being in that match not meant to happen? Like, wasn't that legit him showing up and then Taker just calling stuff on the fly? Because
yeah,
Foley was not meant to go through that
Buying
cage.
some time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, as I understand it, it was to create a diversion so the medical team could work on Foley. So yeah, it was done on the fly.
So people didn't get bored. They kept people interested. Yeah.
I didn't know at the time. If you don't know, maybe you're new to wrestling or you haven't seen it because it was before your time or whatever. The Undertaker wrestled that match with a broken foot, and he doesn't give it away until just after Mick Foley goes through the cage.
He climbs down it.
He lands funny on it, and you can see him sort of tense, and then straight away he's back in character. So yeah, you know, the whole, and I shouldn't smile, but for me, it's got loads of memories attached to it. The whole, that's it, he's dead. Line. I think it was Jerry Lawler that said it.
So yeah,
you know, that was when you sort of sat up and went, hang on a minute, this isn't supposed to happen. So yeah, there we go.
What are everyone else's thoughts on that match then? I'm
Just
assuming we're all
wanted
in
to say,
agreement.
I double checked that, and it did get a 4.5 from that.
Pretty
if only it was in the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah, but which Dave Meltzer have we got? Have we got the Dave Meltzer of now that's sort of parodied and whatnot, or have we got the very well respected and
because that match wasn't as good as the car park one that happened on AEW. So there you go.
There you go.
That's a fair point. I think some of the you're right. Two of the best moments in that match were not planned at all, and that only adds to the magic, doesn't it? Really, you know, of it. And it'll be interesting to look at that if it had gone exactly to script, you know. But God, it really did define like a generation of hardcore. I think, you know, starting with that moment. And, oh yeah, it's goosebumps, isn't it? You know, the cool. What I tell you, quick aside to that, what really annoyed me was that Michael Cole tried to kind of recreate that cool at WrestleMania, you know, when it was Shayna Mac and Taker, and it was so like prepared by Cole and pre-scripted, and I hated it compared to the genuine reaction.
Michael Cole never has had a call in his life that was just off the cuff.
Of course, yeah. And I couldn't stand it because it felt so pre-prepared compared when you've got, Lawler and JR's reaction, which is genuinely like concern, you know, and it was just brilliant.
Like on the side, it's like when you find out that it was pre-scripted when he was talking about Daniel Bryan's win at WrestleMania, and he coined that phrase, and it was just like
the comeback kid.
Yeah, it was just like, oh no, just so bad. But yeah, I completely agree. I think that match is one of the, if not the iconic Hell in a Cell that people will always remember, unless something else from now takes over. Chris, what about yourself?
I mean, I've got 6. But you know, I don't want to do a grizz here. So I mean, 3 out of those 6 have the Undertaker in it as well, and he really is king of the cell, isn't he? You know, he is the Don.
It's his match, isn't
it? Yeah, it is his match, really, isn't it? You know, quick shout out to Usos and New Day, which is a kind of forgotten Hell in a Cell match, which was fantastic. For me, I don't know, because this one wasn't so much about the cell, but the momentum it had and the kind of moment it was the end of an era match between Triple H and Undertaker. Just brutal chair shots, and you know, I just thought, is this ever going to end? You talk about suspending your disbelief. It was just incredible. It was emotional, and they just gave it the raw. So for me, that's probably my favorite. Maybe closely followed by. I'm going to, again, controversial, Rollins and Ambrose, because for years no one had gone off the top, and they didn't, you know, quite do that, but they went off the side of the cage. They started on top of the cage, and they just kind of Ambrose had that thing about like you just didn't know what he was going to do, you know, and it kind of had that magic of Foley and Taker just because you didn't know what was going to happen from that moment onwards. So quick shout out to that. But yeah, for me, end of an era match, it had it all, you know, and it was emotional and just brutal.
That end of an era, wasn't that like literally an hour of WrestleMania? You know, from the start of the video package to the entrances to the match to the match ending to them going up.
Carry on. Yeah, you talk amongst yourselves. Go on, give me a sec. I will find out.
Is that the Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania where Triple H came out to Metallica's For Whom the Bell Tolls and he throws the hammer through the glass?
Mm-hmm.
No, Whom the Bell Tolls was the Hell in a Cell's theme song.
Oh, okay.
Well, hang on a minute.
Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. No,
it was
actually,
the
you're
Memory
wrong.
Remains.
Yes, that was I beg your pudding.
Grizz is wrong twice. You heard it now.
No.
Go on, give it up.
Wait, where was the wrong
Metallica,
yeah.
it's wrestling, and the other one was Big Dave. I'm gonna know it. So yeah, because I remember, and I remember at the time laughing, thinking Vince McMahon doesn't know who Metallica is, but there's a massive chance that he owns 2 of their songs now.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. Anyway, I'd never understood why they used the Memory Remains. I think they could have used something far better, but one of them.
Yeah, as I said, it was brutal. What I'm looking here is it went 53 minutes. Did that match?
But that was because that was just a match. So like then you had the build up, the entrances, the bit at the end where they all walk up to the top of the ramp and they kind of take their bow and all that.
Yeah, but the actual match from bell start to bell finish was 53 minutes.
Jesus. And,
Could we also just put out there as well, Shawn Michaels as the ref puts on the performance of a lifetime.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's not going to be as good as his match against Hulk Hogan at SummerSlam. But it is a cracking performance, so props need to go for him as well.
No, absolutely. What about yourself, Jason?
So I mean, the first one, again, because the story was that Shawn Michaels was like shirking the Undertaker, was afraid of him, was trying to run away. They'd had the Ground Zero match, which I absolutely loved, because I just never saw the idea that the Undertaker would punch the ref. And that at the very beginning, and he just went berserk. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then, because they kind of, as I remember it, the chair shot where Undertaker was cut open by Michaels happened before Ground Zero, as I remember. And then Ground Zero was there was no blood, there was nothing like that. It was a bit wild. And then they went into this match, which was just brutal, and it was so well done. It was a good wrestling match, and that was the other thing. I know they got out the ring and they climbed on top and that, but until then it was still just a really good match. The other one was Mick Foley against Triple H. His retirement is that match, because he actually did go through. It deliberately go through the cage.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thud looked awesome. The dent in the ring.
The one from No Way Out, February 2000.
Yeah, that one. That one looked really, really cool. And just there was one more I was just going to say, which I remember being. It was actually Brock Lesnar against the Undertaker, a No Mercy one. They had a
June 2002, yeah.
Yeah, they had a really bloody fight. They did, and that's the thing was that it was, and because you slipped into the PG era, it's a gimmick match. It doesn't really live up to its hype because of the PG kind of no blood, none of this. I mean. They haven't done much of it as much now, but I mean, can you remember the period where they were coming in and actually getting a towel on people's faces when they were stopping them? Yeah. Can you imagine that happening during King of the Ring '98? I mean, this is just mental. This stuff like this, and so it just really it sanitized the match too much, is what I'm trying to get at, I guess.
Yeah.
Where actually, when you knew when it was going to come, you were like, oh, it's going to be a bloodbath. This is going to be great. This is.
Yeah.
What about you then, Grace? Do you have any standout matches for yourself?
Well, the annoying thing is Jason just brought up one of my matches, because Lesnar and Taker, like because it was kind of like it was in like 2002, so it was in that weird period where it was still kind of Attitude Era-esque, but was kind of going a bit more, the childish kind of way, which didn't really go that way for another year or two. But for some reason I always just really had this as a really nostalgia match for me, and I don't know if it's just because that and then Triple H and Jericho, I think, were the first two Hell in a Cell matches that I watched during my fandom, and so they meant like so much more to me. And obviously going back and then watching Mankind or Mick Foley versus Undertaker was obviously a hoot and a holler. But the other one I want to bring up, because no one's brought it up yet, is the Armageddon 6-man.
Yes.
Oh.
There you go.
From let me have a think.
Is it Armageddon
From
2000?
Armageddon.
Armageddon 2000,
Yeah.
the one where Rikishi.
With Rikishi and the
Rikishi chokeslam
Yeah,
off the top.
He gets pushed off.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's meant to be a choke slam, but it's kind of more a choke shove in it.
Well, you had
Yeah.
Angle beat Taker, Triple H, Rikishi, Austin, and The Rock. What a lineup that was.
Oh, it's
One
true.
of these is not like the others.
Listen, if you don't know that Rikishi did it for The Rock, she's too young for you, bro. Put it out there. Put it out there.
Or
So
just
I wanted,
uneducated.
I wanted to. So I'll have my little thing, and then I just wanted to give you some key facts about the Hell in a Cell concept. So obviously, I'll give you the key facts first. So the most appearances in a Hell in a Cell was Taker with 14, and he's only won 8 matches.
Yeah.
Then we have Triple H with 9, who has only won 6. Then Randy with 7, who has only won 4. And then CM Punk has appeared 5 and only won 2. And then we have the one that obviously we're going to talk a little bit about the matches. Sasha has been in 3 and has lost 2, or will be in 3 and has lost 2. So when you look at ratio, she's got the worst. But obviously she's been in all Hell in a Cells, which is fantastic for her. As you said, you've got Taker versus Mankind from King of the Ring. You've got the debut of Kane from Bad Blood at In Your House, October '97, with Michaels beating Taker. You had the well-received Taker beating Big Boss Man at WrestleMania 15, where he hung him, which is classed as a Hell in a Cell, but I just think he's just a dumpster fire. It was just awful. Key ones, the 6th one was Triple H beating Cactus Jack, as you've said. We had the Brock beating Taker at No Mercy. Triple H beating Shawn Michaels at Bad Blood in June 2004, when they went through that period of hating each other before Michaels won the belt. Batista versus beating Triple H at Vengeance 2005. Taker beating Orton at Armageddon. Brock beating Taker
That was
at
a great one.
Cell. Yep. You have Brock again facing Taker at Hell in a Cell 2015. Taker against Shane at WrestleMania 32. Charlotte beating Sasha at Hell in a Cell. You've got Rollins versus The Fiend, which was good to see, but not very well received, as we all are aware.
It was awful.
You had and then
Red lighting. What? Was that not the first time the cage was red?
Yes, and also they changed the colouring of the lights to red, so
That's what
no
I mean. So
could see it.
those two seem to went together, and it stayed red ever since.
Yeah, and it just wasn't well received. And then obviously you've got the next ones, which we're going to talk about next. So the card this weekend, we've got Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso. Sorry, not Ray. In a Hell in a Cell I Quit match for the Universal title. If Jey loses, he and Jimmy will have to become Roman's subordinates. Now, what's people's take on that? Or what's people's take on the match?
I think it's surprisingly exciting.
Yeah.
I think he's Jimmy. Which one's which? Sorry, who's fighting?
Jay is the one wrestling.
The tattoos.
He's been surprising. He's surprisingly good because as lame as I sound, I watch Total Divas, so I know the other brother really well.
Yeah.
And he seems to have quite a bit of personality, where I've always thought this other brother just stands in the background, doesn't do very much, but he's done a fantastic job. And
especially if you've just seen SmackDown this past
it was
Friday.
great. And I totally was like, why are you talking through that? Is that meant to be a mask because of COVID? Are you that? I was like, this is stupid for a promo. And I totally slipped into the idea that it was his twin. I totally fell for that. Yeah. So it was very, very good. Very good. Yeah. So
yeah,
I'm excited about it.
It's to be honest, it's one of the matches that I've been wanting to see, especially with what the redesigning of Roman Reigns has happened. Clearly, it's helped with ratings. There was a slight slip last week, not just now, but the week before. But clearly, it's helped him, and it's helped a lot of people be behind Reigns. They've liked him doing that whole Randy Orton. There was a period where Randy Orton did the "I'm not a face or heel, I'll just do whatever I want," and people cheered him. It's just unfortunate. It's just we're in a time where people can't see it live, but the reaction that they've been giving Reigns has been positive, and it's really cool. Is that? And the subordinate thing, there's been talk where he will possibly get a faction with them two together. So whether or not they fight with him in the faction or the stable and then become heels themselves, we'll have to wait and see. I'm not too sure.
I'm thinking that's going to be the thing, is they're going to join reluctantly at first, and then they're going to be like, hold on a second, life is pretty sweet like this. So, and then they're going to turn, like maybe it's just something as simple as, the Usos, when they come back, when Jimmy comes back even, they get a tag title match, and then Roman like helps them win, and then they win the tag titles, and they're like, wait, what? And then Roman's like, oh, I helped you. You're champs now. And they're like, hell yeah.
Yeah. And they like it, and they go with it, and it ends up feeding it. And that's cool. Is that? I like that. We've got yet another match. Hopefully this will be the last one. With Drew defending his WWE Championship against Randy Orton in yet again another Hell in a Cell. I'll go to you, Chris. What are your thoughts on this? How have you found this feud?
I mean, as you probably know, I'm not a huge fan of the product these days, so I've not been fully invested in it. But obviously, I've been following some of the major storylines. I've not really been a fan of this feud from the start, really. Truth be told. And Randy with the night vision thing, I just couldn't get on board with that when he took out some of those legends. I mean, to be honest, you've had the ambulance match, right? And like, I don't know if you want to weigh up ambulance match against Hell in a Cell, but like, surely the ambulance match by itself is enough of a blow off, or it should be. So I mean, I do like Orton, but I don't think his style lends itself to Hell in a Cell particularly well. And there's nothing really about it that excites me. So as I said, I've not been following it, completely, so I'm not fully invested in it. But yeah, the Reigns and Usos match is everything that Hell in a Cell should be based on. It's personal, and it's come down to this. But I've never really felt any real issue between McIntyre or Orton that I can get behind. So I'm not. And I say it completely biased that I've not been on board with this feud from the start. So for me, that's nothing. So yeah.
What about you, Lexi, regarding this match?
I'm like Chris, to be fair. I haven't really followed it religiously.
Because
you're a nun. Oh.
I am not a nun. I am a sister of sin.
Oh, sorry. Deepest
anyway, damn right. No, joking. So, for me, looking at the depth of talent they've got.
Oh no, a ghost.
A WWE still. Sorry, that's just really.
It takes moments, doesn't it?
Oh my life! It is paying tribute to them, but anyway, for me,
I thought so.
Given all the depth of talent that they've got, it's somebody else's time to shine. And going back to Orton just seems like they've run out of ideas, or people have been reluctant to get involved or whatever. They could have something there.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I'll ask you then.
on.
Who would you have picked instead of Orton? Obviously, we've had the draft shuffle, so forget that. It's what it was. If you could pick somebody to take over from where Orton started, is there anybody that you would have liked to have seen? Because in the predictions that I had for Drew many moons ago when I spoke to our leader, I actually said that his first would be
Large
Rollins.
Jonathan.
I said it would be Rollins, and I was right with that because it was just an easy and predictable thing. And Orton is easy and predictable. I know people say he's boring, but he's as much as he's boring, he's safe. And I think that's the issue they've got because they went through a period of time where a lot of people were injured. So, who would you pick if you could pick anyone from then instead of Orton? Is there anyone?
I would probably pick, and this is just purely bias coming through. I would have as much as I love the man, no. I would probably go for Ricochet or Aleister Black.
Okay.
Oh, Aleister Black's a good one.
Because I think there's that history in NXT. I think, if memory serves me right. But also as well, Ricochet is a completely different style. And yes, it might be the safe thing to do to go with Randy Orton, but if you want something that's going to compete with your competition, you are going to need someone that is explosive and unpredictable and essentially has springs in his heels. Because let's be honest, Ricochet must be part cyborg or something to do what he does. Whereas Randy Orton, I've seen him, I saw it, oh my God, I saw it 16 years ago.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, it's the John Cena Randy Orton thing again from times ago, and it's almost as if people that we're not all 12, we're not all 13 and not remember. There's people that are invested in it, which is why obviously we're here together talking about it. And the fact that you're going to do something like that and not just do it as like 2 or 3 matches, that's fine. But the fact that they're having matches every pay-per-view and every other Raw, it's getting to a point where you can understand why there's only like 1.3 million watching Raw a week, because it's the same thing over and over again. But yeah, that's a good shout. What about you, Grizz? Is there anyone that you would have thought better than Orton, or are you happy to see this hopefully end or have another match?
Well, more so what I want to kind of talk about is the fact that the kind of thing you just brought up of, the Orton and Cena thing, because it's kind of, recently it's been more a kind of chatter online that like it almost seems as if they're trying to get Orton those couple more titles he needs to get to 16. And then, in maybe like 2 or 3 years, the main event of WrestleMania is going to be John Cena versus Randy Orton. And who's going to get that 17th world title to beat Ric Flair's record? And it's just like, yeah, but nobody wants to see either of those two do that.
Sorry, I'm just looking at Chris's excitement in you saying that. Christ, do you know what? I'm going to clip out that.
Looks like you had a bad curry.
That's now going to be a gif in our chat from now on.
Why do I get the feeling that if we could all go to like a wrestling show, Chris would be there with a sign saying "Who booked this crap"?
I
Like,
would be for that shit.
I was just going to say, if it was 28 matches, any shows that I was part of, I'd have been like, me. Sorry, my fault.
They're going to consider that. Is that? Well, I guess it's just chatter. I hope so.
Yeah, so am I. Believe me.
yeah.
Right. Okay. So we have got Bayley versus Sasha in the very, very long, anticipated and waited match that I actually thought was really, really good that they've made Bayley the heel. It's worked really well in her favour.
Heel Bayley has been like the revitalization of her entire career, because I mean, I love Bayley since day one, but Jesus, there was a period where she was just oh, I'm a hugger. And it's like, yes, you've been a hugger for like 4 years. Do you want to do anything else? And then she turned heel and was like, hold on a second, something's happening here.
Well, recently she was on she had an interview. I'm sorry, I'm not sure which one it was, but they talked about her recent run as a heel, and she said she wanted it because she'd been, as you've just said, she'd been doing the hugger thing for 7 years in total, and she wanted a change, and she thought by having a change, people would have that would love her more because she's not just saying the same thing all the time. Because if you're a heel or a face all the time, people can get turned off and bored of you, which is understandable. So,
just to
plus
stop
the
you
way
there,
that she turned heel was like the most perfect thing, where she came out and literally murdered her Bailey buddies.
Go on, sorry, go on.
but right, is this a moment where we can sort of sit back and go, holy shit, WWE has learnt from the mistakes they made with John Cena by not turning him heel?
No, because it's somebody else that's doing the booking.
Oh, okay,
If it's someone else was doing the scripting, which they are, then fine. But if it's the same people from 10 years ago, they'll just recycle it. That's my personal view on it. I think because they've got someone else in, they've slightly changed it, which has put a fresh, like having putting a fresh bit of paint on it. I think it's worked well with her being like that. I'm going to go to you, Jason. Are you excited for this? Have you been a fan of these two?
Well, yeah, I mean, they were one of my favourite matches of NXT. It's just, but I guess that's the only thought I had was, is it going to, because it was such a competitive athletic match, their last one, the one they had at NXT. Well, they had two at NXT. They had the 30-minute Iron match, didn't they? So I mean, they got that going on. So I mean, I guess that's the only thing I'd like to see is actually the two of them show how competitive they can be. But I mean, the cell's going to be used because I've been using chairs and stuff like that. So that's why that's been introduced. But absolutely, I'm excited about this. I was thinking though, when they actually fell out on Raw, though, maybe even a year ago, maybe more than that, Bailey was still face Bailey. And then she battered Sasha, and people cheered when she did. But for whatever reason, WWE were like, "Oh, we're not going to do this." Because I don't know if they expected that people would cheer. I think that was the thing they hadn't anticipated, because it was very much a similar Becky attacking Charlotte kind of cheer.
Yeah, I was just going to say
we were
that.
fed up of that, and that was where it was coming from. But then they did They went to therapy and tried to mimic Team Hell No, and they just got really confused as to why they got back to so long-winded getting to this point. But I guess I would have just wanted a really competitive match or something before the Cell match. That was where I would have rather gone. But I definitely am looking forward to it. But my suspicion is, though, which is why I'm saying it, there's going to be another match after this. That's my suspicion.
I'd be very surprised if this is the end.
Yeah.
Even if they build to Royal Rumble, like as if it's like one of them's injured and come back, or they need a break from each other, Royal Rumble, or even build it to that WrestleMania point, which is what everyone thought. No,
I just think it will be next pay-per-view. That's my prediction.
Well, it's Survivor Series.
Well, I get if that's the next one. I just think they're just going to do it again. That's my issue with putting Hell in a Cell where it is. I reckon there's still going to be another match, which would be not a blow off where you've got the Cell where they're meant to be the most vicious one. I mean, same kind of argument of it, which is worse, Ambulance or a Hell in a Cell. Now we're going to have a Hell in a Cell, and there might just be a regular match afterwards.
If it's Survivor Series, you kind of have your out for that, because normally they do the brand versus brand thing. So you might have Bailey versus Io versus Asuka. Oh my God, that's going to be awesome.
Fuck that now.
You could have it like how when Triple H got Braun, when Braun and Triple H, that whole thing where Triple H beat up Kurt Angle on his own team and this, that, and the other, and you can have that one of them costing the other their brand match, and then it builds on to the next. But to be honest, anytime these two wrestle each other, it's the whole four horsewomen in it. Anytime them four face each other, it doesn't matter. the outcome, as long as it's been given the right time, the wrong storytelling, it's always going to be a really, really, really good match.
Yeah.
I was just going to go to you to Grizz regarding this. So, what are your thoughts on this match?
Well, the question is, I can't remember. They are both still on SmackDown, aren't they?
They are, yes.
Right. So that kind of bums the one theory that I had the idea of Sasha gets drafted to Raw. Obviously, it's not happened now, but like, so they have this match. Bailey wins. Sasha gets drafted to Raw, and then she spends Raw until Royal Rumble, like completely seething and still just being like, oh no, I want another crack at Bailey. It's like, well, you can't because she's on the other brand. Then she wins a Royal Rumble, and then they have the blow off at Mania where Sasha finally wins the belt. Obviously, that didn't happen because, you know, these people are getting paid to do terrible story writing, apparently. But I mean, I think the match is going to be good. But I genuinely want Bailey to win. And as we kind of just spoke about, Bailey should win. And then it goes on to Survivor Series where if they still are doing this brand thing, that should be the thing where like Sasha could be like, I want another match at Survivor Series. And Bailey's like, I already have a match at Survivor Series, so your loss. And then, like, if you really want it to go, like, I think Bailey versus Sasha in the main event of TLC in a TLC match for the women's title.
Okay.
That's not going to happen at all. They're going to book this on a SmackDown, and that'll be it.
it will be the SmackDown before TLC.
Yeah.
It's the free it's the free pay-per-view match that they'll do on SmackDown for taking
The free pay-per-view
For the dark free.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to quickly go through the other two matches that have been announced as of right now. So we've got Jeff Hardy, Elias. What's your view?
Yeah.
Why?
Bothered?
No one cares.
No.
Sorry.
Next.
Okay, next.
The only thing that Elias done recently is
might.
that concert he done on Raw was pretty fucking awesome.
It's just because it's just to shoehorn Elias back in the whole thing of I've been out injured, so how can we book him back into something without having a title? So nothing's online, and as you said, this isn't in a cell. To be honest, it shouldn't be on the pay-per-view. I'm really past it now. And the final one, as of this morning, Otis is going to face The Miz, and what is going to be on the line is Otis's Money in the Bank contract. Now, there's been quite a long talk over the last month or so that they're wanting to take the contract away from Otis. Even though Vince is apparently so into him, it's not the match that people want to be seeing, according to backstage. And obviously, if you're going to get him against anyone, he's going to lose. I think there's only like one or maybe two people that have lost their Money in the Bank matches, like Damien Sandow for one. John Cena.
Corbin.
Yeah.
Corbin. I think that's all of them.
But it's not something that people want to see. I mean, it would be quite cool to see him go up against somebody for the title. And a long time that it's been talked that he was going to use the contract to for the tag team belts, which was actually quite a cool idea. Yeah. But I'll go to you, Chris, to start with. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's interesting. Like, I don't want to see anyone lose their Money in the Bank shot, but obviously it's a really nice, easy way to build a bit of drama into the match, isn't it? You know, and it happens organically with that. And I think it's because he was injured. The only match I can remember where someone has lost it was Ken Kennedy lost it to Edge, if I remember correctly, but I can't remember. Kennedy, if he was, I can't remember if that's because he was injured or not. But Edge, it
was.
Yeah, thank you. And like,
because the annoying thing with that was it predicted originally that he was meant to be out for like 3 or 4 months, but then it turned out it was 3 or 4 weeks. So they lost that, and then Kennedy came back like 3 weeks later and was like, "Oh, well, you really didn't need to lose that, but okay."
And apparently he was down to win the belt as well.
Yeah,
that's the downside.
Because Edge then cashed in on the Undertaker like the next week on SmackDown or something. So like, if Kennedy was healthy, Kennedy would have won that fucking title, man.
Don't get me started on Ken Kennedy. When I missed the karaoke episode, his theme was going to be the one I was going to do. His story is fascinating by itself. I don't, I like Otis. He is obviously different. I really like the idea of cashing on the tag titles, but again, it's a good idea, so it won't happen, I'm sure. But I do quite, again, it's natural jeopardy. I don't think anyone really cares about seeing Miz have the briefcase again. So hopefully it will just be like a one and done. He'll lose that, but it does feel a bit like filler. But like you said, Jason, there is an awful lot of talk about that, so there could be some truth in there, but we'll see. So I think because of the rumors and because of you don't often see it, it's got a little bit of intrigue. I think because the ending of that is genuinely in doubt when normally it probably wouldn't be, it's of interest. I mean, not so much the match itself, but I think what's at stake.
What about you, Jason? What's your thoughts?
I'm not an Otis fan, and him winning the Money in the Bank, I thought was the most bizarre thing I'd come across. I was just like, what? I mean, I didn't like that card, did I? But anyway, I mean, I still didn't like him winning it, and I was like, this is weird. And I mean, I don't get the joke of a fat guy who fancies a pretty woman, and that's the joke. So anyway, well, yeah, I know. And I was like, oh, is this meant to be funny?
It gives us all hope.
But anyway, so with that, but I'm just doing listen to you guys. I'm thinking, well, I guess if the Miz won it, what happens if he cashed in after Drew McIntyre beats Randy Orton right in the same night? I mean, that's the thought. Am I on the right brands? Actually, no, he's smacking that, isn't he? Sorry.
No, Mrs. Raw.
Is Mrs. Raw? Okay, then that would be where I would go next. Then, so that might be a thought, but I just didn't see it. I mean, the tag team things has been mentioned, but you'd want the tag teams to have a little bit more focus. And WWE don't like tag team titles, so.
I've got one for you. What happens if Randy Orton beats Drew, and then Miz cashes in on Randy Orton
again?
And that
second time.
That would turn that way. Everyone would love that.
And you'll get that little girl's face in the crowd again.
Yeah. Oh my God! See if she's on the Thunderdome.
Yeah. How good would that be?
What about you, Lexi? What are your thoughts on this match and the possibility of him losing the contract?
I'm gonna say I've just looked up and double checked who was in the match way back for Money in the Bank. You had Otis, obviously, AJ Styles, Aleister Black, Daniel Bryan, Corbin, and Rey Mysterio. Okay. For me, if you were going to take a gamble on a new talent, my money would have been on Aleister Black, to be honest with you.
Cool.
For me, the question is, why put the Money in the Bank briefcase on Otis if he wasn't going to cash in, or if there was any doubt or any hesitation on part of the booking? I mean, I don't like the idea either of it being used on the tag titles. I think if that's the road you want to go down, you have a match specifically for the tag title contract.
A tag title Money in the Bank ladder match would be awesome.
Yeah.
Well, originally they were supposed to. They made one. They made two singles.
For Sanity, is that right?
Say that again. Sorry.
They were going to use Sanity were brought up for, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Is that right? Just remember.
They made a Money in the Bank briefcase, and there was talk that they were going to have a tag team ladder match, and then it was scrapped at the 11th hour because it was heavily advertised on Instagram. Sorry, not Instagram, on the internet. It was scrapped at last minute, and a lot of people, because they were pushing the New Day regarding it, and a lot of people thought that the New Day would be the ones that win it, because obviously they're the people, they're the team that people like.
Exactly why they shouldn't have won it.
I mean, the whole thing of putting it on Otis was because everyone was really into him, and obviously at that point, a lot of people.
Oh no, like I would argue that definitely Otis was going in the underdog favorite to win that match, and when when he did, everybody rejoiced. And then after that, they didn't do anything with him.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. I think that's where part of my issue comes from. You know, you won this fantastic opportunity. You won the girl, because let's be honest, you did. And there's just been nothing since.
I mean, like, the most interesting thing that he's done recently is turned it into a lunchbox, which is very amusing. But, like, other than that, that's been about it.
Right, so obviously we'll wrap that a little bit up. So we're going to jump on to last call, but I believe we're going to say bye-bye to Chris for the moment.
Wow. Apologies, I have to leave a little bit early today, but thank you as always. Look forward to Halloween Havoc and have a good Halloween.
Chris, give us one quick one before you go.
One of these?
No, I was one quick gimmick before you go. Gimmick.
You need to let us know what you mean.
Oh, what? One of my favorite gimmicks?
Horror gimmicks. You know the structure of the show that we talked about before we started.
What? I'm gonna go with the ECW Sci-Fi Zombie, of course.
Yeah.
All right, cheers, guys.
Take care. See you later.
See you soon.
Right. So, as I said,
Chris. Okay, yeah, sure, why not? Chris.
Right.
While he's left, I'm going to recite the promo that the zombie cut on the first episode. Yes, I am.
Oh God, no.
It went like this. It was. I mean, it's so memorable.
Gotta go, guys. Sorry.
Right, so as I said, thank you for that, Grizz.
Amazing.
So our last call today was having a look at our favourite, spookiest or daftest wrestling characters that you can associate with this time of year. Now, there's quite a list, so I'm going to go with you, Grizz. Go on then.
Yeah. Kevin Thorne and Ariel.
The vampire, yep.
Yes. Like, let's just say there was many reasons why I liked Ariel, but Kevin Thorne also like he just came out and he just looked so fucking awesome. And he had like the kind of waistcoat top and all that, and then like the pair of slick back hair, and then the vampire fangs, and like just the two of them together were so awesome. And then Ariel had to get in a fight with Batista and get fired. So
that man never did nothing.
Never
did nothing.
So, but the two of them together were awesome. And then, after that, Kevin Thorne just started to deteriorate in a man that wrestled with less clothes every week, which was very worrying.
Yeah,
because it kind of
Midian.
Yeah, exactly. It went from him having his awesome kind of waistcoat and pants and into like a singlet, and then the next week he came out, he was just wearing well, not tighty whities because they were red, so tighty reddies. And then there was like, I was getting really worried that the next week he was going to be coming out wearing like a Borat style thong or something like that. But thankfully they kind of were done with him at that point. And then
go on.
And then also shouts out obviously to the Boogeyman because he's coming to get you.
I mean, we've talked about him on numerous podcasts, how the guy really, really wanted to be part of WWE, lying about his age, the fact that they actually liked what he did in the ring and he ended up getting a job, and he still periodically turns up, and he's still on the indie scene now, so that's quite cool.
And still genuinely eats worms.
Yeah, absolutely. Go on then, Jason. What's your favouriteest, daftest, what characters do you associate with this time of year?
I don't know. I mean, what came to my mind, it's not really Halloween, but the match came to my mind was Buried Alive matches. I mean, I haven't done them for a very long time. I remember Mankind's versus The Undertaker's that first time, and I think I was young enough that I was fully convinced that he'd buried him alive at that point. I was like, I don't know how he's going to survive. He just murdered him. I'm pretty sure he has. But yeah, I really do like that type of stuff. I mean, so I haven't really got anything particular, like favorite horror characters. I don't know. My friend showed me an Impact show, and it had a woman, and she had like loads
So young.
of ghosts. They were all, is that the one where they're all not? They were in bridesmaids dresses.
Yes.
I think they were.
Yeah, it's so young. Yes.
And it
She,
was pretty scary stuff, actually.
Shout out
So that
to,
was a new
Eve.
one too.
Sorry,
Who were
shout
they,
out to
sorry?
Eve on YouTube. Sue Young faces Martinez, Session Moths in search that out. She basically does a dream thing where she's fallen asleep and she thinks it's not real, and in the dream they show the bit during her previous match where Sue Young turns up and she just loses it. I mean, she the girl who plays Session Moths is fantastic, but yeah, Sue Young is fantastic.
Yeah,
Good call, is
I-
that? Good shout.
It was good stuff, that was, but I mean, I'd not know. It was nothing I was familiar with, but I did like it. So that's about it. It's a bit short and sweet for me.
No, what about you, Alexa?
For me, I'm not sure whether this character is Halloweeny.
Well, if it's,
But I just remember
when I
being.
say Halloween, it's like, is it scary? Is it?
Yeah, I
connected
was
with
just about to say,
associate?
like, I was petrified of him as a kid, and that's Papa Shango. And for those of you that don't know, Grizz might not know because this was way before his time, but
I know of him.
he had a feud with the Ultimate Warrior, and those of you, if you know me, the Ultimate Warrior is the catalyst for everything that's happened in my life with regards to pro wrestling. So when he was cutting this promo and all of a sudden this weird green foam slime, whatever you want to say, started running down his face and he started freaking out, that was particularly upsetting to me because I couldn't have been more than 4. So, but yeah, for me it was that. And for those of you that don't know, Papa Shango, the gentleman playing him, I think it's Charles Wright.
Yeah,
is it?
correct, yes.
The Godfather.
Actually went on to be the Godfather. So I didn't know that until I was much older. But yeah, because he's Papa Shango's all like voodoo priest and the skull paint. I can't exactly call it corpse paint because it's not.
He reminds me of the voodoo priest from James Bond, Live and Let Die.
Yes, I was trying to think which one it was, but yeah, that sort of thing.
It wouldn't surprise me if that's where it came from. It really won't.
Possibly.
All right.
But yeah, Papa Shango.
Cool, good shout. Well, I'm going to go run through just a few. Obviously, you've got the Boogeyman, you've got Bray Wyatt's The Fiend, you've got Undertaker, Papa Shango, Kevin Thorne, as we've talked about, Gangrel.
Yes. My boy.
And then you've got Kane, Doink, Damien Demento, Vampiro, Paul Bearer, and then you've got a guy who was played by Johnny the Bull Stamboni in TNA, who was
Relic.
Exactly.
Yes.
Going back to
Killer spelled backwards.
Going back to what you were saying, I was lucky enough to go to a show in the UK for PCW where Charles Wright was there, and he came out one night as Papa Shango and one night as the Godfather, and it was just awesome, really, really good. So, so that's
can I very, very, very quickly stick in one more from over the pond? Because I want to give props to Igar. She's a female wrestler from Japan who runs like she's kind of like So Young, but kind of not, because she's more of a comedic kind of scary wrestler. But there was one time where I seen a match, because you mentioned Session Moth is why it reminded me of this. In Manchester, Sendai Girls done a show in Manchester, and Igar took on Session Moth, and it was arguably the funniest thing that I've ever seen in my goddamn life. Because Igar, she comes out with like a big kind of like monk cloak kind of thing, and then she's got like the white face as if she's dead, and her finishing move is she grabs and kisses her opponent, and then they just pass out. for the 3 count. And then specifically the match in Manchester, they'd done this spot where Session Moth was so scared that she ran up the ramp, and then they started like there was kind of 2 entrances. So she kind of ran in one entrance, then ran out the other, and then so they were chasing each other, and then it got to the point where Igar ran out in front of Session Moth, so Session Moth was chasing her, like
Yeah.
kind of
That's cool, is that?
yeah, the Scooby-Doo style thing, and then they were like, wait, what? And then Igar turns around and just points to Session Moth, and she's like, no! And then runs back.
Right. Well, I'm going to have to stop you there because
absolutely. Just check out Igar.
Unfortunately, the doors are now closing once again at the Turnbuckle Arms. But we thank you for joining us, for obviously joining the Brew'd for a drink and listening to us talk about the world of wrestling. If you enjoyed this, then you can check out our other shows, which are available to listen to on all your favourite podcasting platforms. Not only that, we have a show called Swift Ass, where we get together and talk briefly about certain topics in wrestling. You can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and you can also subscribe to us and watch our lovely faces on YouTube too. So finally, just to round it off, if you'd like to get involved and would like to talk to us about a particular subject within wrestling, then you can email us at the turnbucklearms@gmail.com, or obviously message us on any of the social media pages. And again, once from me and from my Brew'd members, thank you very much. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. And one last thing, love the intro. Thanks again for the intro being made to us. Every time I hear it, it's awesome. So thanks to Mad Dog. Thank you.
My tag team partner, Dave Foxy.
Thank you very much. Take care.
See you later.